Hello, students. Today I want to talk with you a little bit about transitions or connective tissue, the material in your essay that holds your ideas together. The first thing I want to discuss is why we have transitions. And the biggest reason is to establish relationships between ideas, to show whether you're making new points, whether you're providing additional support for a previous point, whether you're showing a sequence of events, whether you're showing contrasting ideas, and so on. There's lots of other possibilities, of course. And of course, you also want to help your readers follow your train of thought. You want readers to be able to understand how your argument all hangs together, how your ideas relate to each other. Often that's clear to us as writers, but for readers who aren't inside your head, they need some help following how you're getting from point A to point B, and transitions help us to do that. We obviously think about transitions that go between paragraphs at the beginning of paragraphs, but don't forget that transitions might need to happen between sections of an argument. Maybe you're moving from a problem section to a solution section. Maybe you're moving from a background section to your main argument. Or they often have to happen within paragraphs too, so that readers can see how sentence A relates to sentence B, and so on. So you're all familiar with the basic elementary transitions you learned when you learned how to do a 5-paragraph essay. First, second, third in conclusion, or first, next, last in conclusion, those kinds of things. And they can sometimes be helpful, but often they aren't as specific as we'd like them to be in college writing. In other words, you can be more nuanced with your transitions and show more sophisticated ideas at work there. So use these transitions if they really do the trick, but don't forget to be more specific. Now, intermediate level transitional phrases and words might show addition. They might show additional points. They might show contrast. They might show cause and effect. All of these show relationships between ideas, right? They show how the new idea relates to the previous one. You have in D2L a transitions lists handout that I've compiled, and I want you to take a look at that. It's got a really great compilation of words and phrases that can be used for different purposes. Okay, so now let's talk about more advanced level transitions. Advanced level transitions are going to do a much better job of stitching together your paragraphs. They're going to pick up the thread of the previous paragraph and weave it into the fabric of the next paragraph. So, for example, in addition to the thing I was just talking about in the last paragraph, another concern is this next thing. Or, while some experts consider the thing I just talked about in the last paragraph, others have emphasized this next thing I'm going to talk about. Or not only this last thing, but also this next thing. This is kind of abstract right now, so I want to take a look at some examples in the sample papers that I've posted for you on D2L. So you may have already noticed this sample paper that I've posted for you. This is from a student's paper. The thesis of the paper is that parents should not allow children below the age of 12 to engage in tackle football because of the numerous adverse effects it has on them. And this paper is filled with really strong research from medical journals and that kind of thing. So if we take a look, I would encourage you to pause the video and read this, or at least skim this, and get a sense of how much information this writer is presenting without really telling us how it all hangs together. It's just a ton of information. And it's good information, but it's a lot to take in. So take a look at that and read that over when you have more time and get a sense of that, okay? And now I want to look at how the student used transitions and connective tissue to hold these ideas together. You'll notice that I have underlined some of the phrases here that this writer uses to help build cohesiveness, a cohesion between the ideas. Okay, so for example, in this section here, he's referring to physical tackling techniques, and the simple word "this" intense technique is a way to link back to what he was talking about. Same with these collisions. This pronoun these just simply helps to refer back to what he was talking about in the previous sentence. And then notice how he wraps up. This data begins to tell the story. So he helps us understand why all of this is important, right? We've got a return sentence here. When we talk about transitions, really, return sentences help us to do some of the same work. They show us relationships between ideas. Here's a good transition to further illustrate the seriousness of the problem. So this helps us to understand that in this paragraph, he's going to give us even more information relating to the material in the previous section. Notice how he follows up this quotation to say this statistic has effectively shown, right? That's a really good follow-up to help us understand how to make sense of that quotation. He doesn't simply repeat what the quotation says, but he helps to comment on it, on the significance of it and how it relates to his thesis. Simple words like also, okay? I really like this transition here. He's been talking about transitions in adults. Look at this transition. Concussions are serious injuries for adults then, but they are even more serious for children. So he picks up on the previous thread and weaves it into the subject of the next paragraph, which is transitions effects on children, and that's what this entire paragraph is going to focus on. Again, notice how these underlined words and phrases show how he's continuing to add further support to previous ideas. It helps the reader follow his thinking. Notice this nice wrap-up sentence here. This indicates that, so on and so forth. Here's another one. In addition to concussion, CTE is another major adverse. So he helps move from the concussion section to the CTE section of his paper. He presents some research, and then he adds another author named Sid Johnson also referred to Dr. Omalu's research. Okay, so you can see with these words and phrases that I have underlined within paragraphs and at the beginnings of paragraphs really help us to make sense of all the information that he's presenting. It helps us to see the larger picture of his argument and the way that he's thinking about all of this research. And because of that, it's a much easier reading experience for readers who therefore don't have to work as hard to figure out how all this stuff fits together. The transitions are helping to do that work for us. Okay, so don't forget about the resources that I've already posted for you on D2L about transitions. The sample papers that I've posted for you generally have good transitions, so take a look at those too. And remember that when you're revising, transitions are going to be one of the later things that you add to your paper. Remember, once you've built the walls, once your paragraphs are going to stay where you've moved them, then you can start adding the transitions, the final pieces of the renovation to make sure that everything hangs together. Happy revising, everybody. Let me know if you have any questions.